Today we're going to be building a dungeon which will sit underneath the Lion Knight's castle. The plan is to build the dungeon into the 3 platform coverings which I removed from the Lego City. I think the plan is to build this the exact same way that I built this raised train station that is built right into the platform coverings as well. After removing those platform coverings, I immediately noticed something that's going to be rather annoying to try and fix, and that is actually the table legs which support the raised platform. It looks like I'm going to have to remove the Lion Knight's castle to expose the screws that hold those legs in place, pop those screws out, relocate those legs, just because I'm actually going to be adding more depth to those base plates, because these platform coverings here are only a half base plate. So of course, in order to build a dungeon, I actually have to extend this half base plate underneath the platform covering, and then we have to build the dungeon coming off the backside of like the brickwork here. So those table legs are for sure gonna have to be relocated. The first thing I'm doing is what we call Lego surgery. I'm just extracting essentially the platform covering and the dark gray plate, and then transferring it onto the new 32 by 32 plate. And when I transfer it, I just try to peel it off so that it takes the 2x2 underlying brick with it, and then I can just transfer it over. That way I don't have to create a brand new mills plate and transfer this stuff all over by like hand. I can just lift this off with the bricks and then put it on there. And then I'll just complete the back with more dark gray plate after I lay all the colorful 2x2 bricks, and that's going to give us a solid foundation for the dungeon. See, the coverings just peel off the base plate so nicely. I just have to make some modifications to the layout of the bricks underneath here, just so like these overlap with these bricks, and then boom, gonna have it all transferred pretty quickly. With the mills plate constructed, now I need to decide what we're gonna do here, because these 16 by 16 plates are gonna be built into the wall, right? I need to decide whether or not I want to make it 4 wide with 16 studs of space on either side, or if I want to make it 5 wide with 8 studs on either side, or if I want to go all in and build it the full length, 3 base plates wide. However, when you look at the Lion Knight's castle, we removed 3 base plates, so 3 base plates might be like a little bit wide because it sort of comes off, like extends off the side of the castle, right? But maybe we go all in this scenario since we're already building the dungeon, right? Maybe we make it as big as possible, or maybe we just center it among the 3 base plates. Decided to go with the 8 studs of spacing, and that leaves us with 2.5 base plates of terrifying dungeon. And then I pulled out all of these jail cells here. This is like the gunmetal gray color, and then also the dark bluish gray frames. I think those look really nice. Then we also have the matching, looks like jail cell pieces, so those will create the jail cells. And then I switched up the arches. Typically, the platform coverings have these 8 wide arches, but switched them up with the 12 wide ones, so you're actually going to be able to look into the dungeon. That's what we did with the train station. It really worked out quite nicely there. Yeah, so there we go. That's the base structure for the dungeon. Now it's time to start working on the layout. So the dungeon is going to have a few different components, and of course one of the main things that is going to be part of this dungeon is jail cells. So there are quite a few jail cells. We've got 4 of them, and they're pretty neat. So they use these doors that I pointed out earlier, and they're different sizes, right? This is the premium jail cell right here. It's quite large, and there's a smaller one, and then a larger one on the end. And the walls are actually constructed using plates, and then all sorts of pieces such as quarter round tiles, curve slopes, 1x1 studs, jumpers, all sorts of different stuff, and they're put on those plates. And the plates are actually just held in place by brackets on the back, and those brackets are lifted up 1 stud. Now there are some walls here that aren't constructed using plates, and these walls are pretty detailed. They've got just a bunch of different pieces in them to create like a really nice greebled wall. And you can see where those walls connect to the mounted plate. We just put 2 plates and then a tile, and then that sort of just blends in nicely with these walls. It makes it seamless. So there you go. We've got our jail cells. Now, the jail cells are actually going to be separated from the other part of the dungeon by another door right there, and there is a window or a barred window there looking into the premium cell. Now, there's no detail on the ground yet, just because we haven't gotten that far. And there's going to be a lot of greebling that we have to do with probably the quarter round tiles that I found on the pad wall. Luckily, I've still got lots of them that I have yet to sort, so probably use a bunch of those. Maybe we'll stick some curved slopes and some studs and sort of do the same sort of greebling that we've done on the back wall there on the floor as well. So that's like the main section. That's where all the prisoners are going to be, maybe some skeletons. And then once again, we've got to build these up so you can actually look into the dungeon when you're looking at the raised platform. That's going to be super cool. The other portion is right over here, and this is the staircase that's going to lead up to the actual castle. So there'll be access down into the dungeon, but it's just going to be like imaginary access. I'm not actually going to cut a hole in the raised platform and have it so minifigures can walk down, but we will have some sort of door or something that makes it look like this is actually connecting to the dungeon. Then we have another paneled wall right here, and this staircase is pretty neat. It is a curved staircase, and you saw all the stairs were nicely greebled there, and also the side walls are held in place by these like modified plates. So like the 2x2 plates are almost like brackets, and then the panels of plate come up off the side, and that's all greebled as well. And then right here, this is actually an extension of the dungeon. So the dungeon is built on the 16x16 plates, but over here there's actually a part that extends off the back of it by 8x16 studs, and actually has an angled wall that's built using the little hinge pieces and then all sorts of different bricks. And those angled parts are actually held in spot by the dark gray arches there. You also see the staircase, it's freely suspended. So there is a rope element with the two studs that's actually acting as a tension line supporting it. There's also a sliding door here, and this is actually going to be a vault that's extended over the back of the dungeon. So that is going to look pretty cool when we get that full of treasure. So that's the base layout for the dungeon. Now we've got to add details such as the flooring, weapons, minifigures, prisoners, and of course, treasure. So it's been a day of building, and I've pretty much finished the dungeon here, and I've been cleaning up my mess. I've still got a pretty big mess to clean up, but I'm excited to show you the final product because it's looking pretty good. Of course, I brought one of my other platform coverings over here because I had to make sure the measurements and everything were correct, just because we put that plate in and it sort of threw everything off by one plate, right? But yeah, we've got our jail cells. I guess they're a little bit difficult to see because, of course, there's the arches there, but at least we know it's there. There's our first story. Uh-oh. Looks like that blacksmith did something naughty. He's getting a little bit of a lashing there. Hey, it's a dungeon though, right? In our first jail cell here, we have a couple dragon knights. Note the floor too, all nicely greebled using the quarter round tiles. And then of course there's some studs that are available so we can position minifigures. This lion knight is sort of giving this guy the gears in there, one of the prisoners. Sort of rattling the jail cell bars with his spear. Then in here, there's a little action scene right here with the king. The king just threw this minifigure, or this character, into the jail cell, hucked him in there, toward the skeleton who has the ball and chain attached to his foot. Really nicely greebled floor though. I think that looks really good. And you'll note that the floor over here is pretty much all 1x1s, right? Like all the quarter round tiles. And then the floor over here actually progressively gets a little bit larger. So the tiles are a little bit more cohesive and put together. And there's some larger ones as well. So the floor is just a little bit rougher in the dungeon section of, or like the jail cell section of the dungeon, I should say. Then right there's a weapons rack. So there's actually one in the center, which is made of wood. It's all wooden. It's got a whip, a couple bow and arrows there, some helms, and also some body armor, some spears in the barrels. And then on this side, we have crossbows mounted to that wooden weapons rack. And behind that, embedded in the wall is another weapons rack. There's some shields that are held in place by the Technic bricks with the axle hole. You can see the axle hole right there. They just give them the proper amount of friction so they don't move around on you. And then there's also the helmets that are embedded on the wall. Just side mounted some of the panels so they have the depth so the helmets actually fit in that section of the wall, and it's just held in place by a snot brick. And then a jumper on the left to get it centered, and then the one on the right is just held in by a stud. And then below that is a continuation of the weapons rack with all the swords. And this wall is blent in because here we go from the plate to the brick, so just blend it in a little bit using some snot bricks and plates. Probably could add some more greebling to the studs there, but I think it does a pretty good job of blending between the two walls. So there's the prisoner area and our weapons rack, and then we have the vault. The vault is super cool. Finished off that sliding door there so it can slide open. Just use one of those modified 1x8 plates in the top there. It's like the 1x8 with a slide. It's pretty much like 2 plates wide. I can't remember the exact name of it, but I'm lucky that I have some of those in my inventory. So then you can very easily create a sliding door. So the track is actually just created using cheese slopes and tiles. And these doors are actually surprisingly easy to create. I've done something similar to it in the Avengers Tower, also the hospital. You can use cheese slopes, or you can use like a plate and a tile in front of the sliding door track, and then it can slide right open. But the exciting thing about the vault, of course, is the treasure. The treasure inside. So we've got some crates full of like goblets and gems, rubies, sapphires, and diamonds. And then right here, there's a big hunk of precious metal on top of that crate there. Just a precious gemstone created using some snot bricks, headlight bricks, and also some curved slopes and diamond pieces and other various transparent yellow, green, and red elements. Then some more precious stones in that chest right there, and it's nicely tiled off in the vault as well with some dark red and also dark gray. Then we have the most valuable items, which is the specialty golden crown and also a sword that you might recognize. It's the Sword of Gryffindor, but it's embedded into this really nice showcase. And that was built using some snot work, specifically brackets. You can see some of it from the backside. And actually, when you take a look at the dungeon from the backside, you sort of see it from a different perspective. You can get in there and see that curved staircase and the greebled wall and all the nice flooring, the weapons rack, and then you get a better visual on the jail cells as well. Also, the torches have been added to the interior and exterior, and those are built right into the columns that support the arches, retaining wall, and trail up top. I really like the look of it from this perspective. I think it's the perfect size. Also, those torches do a great job of indicating that this is a dungeon. Hopefully the train doesn't run into it, because we got to remember that the train is actually going to be gliding in front of the dungeon. And another thing that I need to find is some of the 1x1 light gray tiles with the little keyhole. And I need to put those on the exterior of the jail cell doors. I think that would be a nice added detail. I should probably rummage through my printed bin to try and find some of those. Placing this is going to be an absolute doozy because I still need to move those table legs. It's approaching the end of my day. Now I've got to like move a bunch of these mills plates, pull out the drill, and try and get this thing placed in the Lego City. Believe me, I want to. So I'm going to have to try and do that. It's going to be quite the task for old Bricksie here. I should search my part drawer, though. Maybe I have some of those 1x1 light gray tiles. Maybe I'll do that later. Watch this be one. That would be hilarious. No, that is not one. I removed some residential buildings from the city, and I also removed the medieval jousting plate from the raised platform. Then I was able to slide over the massive Lion Knight Castle plate, and that exposed the 2 screws that hold those 2 legs in place that I need to move. I'm hoping I can just move them back and they're still going to support the table, or move them over. Like, for example, this one I could move over so it's just behind that platform covering. But if I do that, then I've got to move this massive plate as well. And then this one, I'm hoping I can just move it back and it still supports the table, because I don't know if I'll be able to move it way over here. There's probably a better solution to this, but I don't know. I've done stuff like this in the past and it seems to have worked. So I'm hoping that's going to be the case here today as well. But I'm not a huge fan of doing things like this just because it becomes rather chaotic really fast. And I hope that I can just get this done ASAP and get my city back to normal. The mess keeps getting bigger and bigger. I actually have to slide the roller coaster forward and remove that plate there because this thing is huge. It's 3 base plates. So in order to place it, I have to get it in there and then slide it into position. And I found when I was sliding into position, some of these things were just built a smidge too high because we don't have a whole lot of height to work with underneath the raised platform. I know that from experience because this isn't the first thing that I'm building for under the raised platform. And I know some of the hidden details, some of the details are hidden in the train station, and some of these awesome details from the dungeon will be hidden there as well. But you know what? I know it's there, and I think it's really neat just to have those hidden details. Maybe one day I'll install lighting so we can actually see that. But I don't know, I just really like it. I know that this is an exposed dungeon, and it's not really that realistic to have an exposed dungeon, but I think it's a lot of fun. There's a lot of stories to be told. It's right underneath the Lion Knight's castle. It's sort of on the end of Pop Culture Street, and I enjoy it. You know, having fun with Lego and being creative within the city is where it's at, in my opinion. It's pretty cool. And I think rather than just having like straight up raised platform coverings along the whole thing, I think having these openings is the way to go, just because it adds some more hidden details and stories in the Lego city. All right, I'm gonna finish installing this thing and hopefully clean up my disastrous mess here without any casualties. Okay, the city's back up and operational. That always feels good. And another large project is done. You know what? I think it looks pretty good there. It's not too obvious, right? Like it's like you can see it, you know it's there, but it's not like, oh, that's like a dungeon. You know, you really have to look at it and sort of look in there to see like just all the scenes and stuff. Of course, it would be beneficial to add lights. Like that's a no-brainer. I'll have to do that, but it is what it is. I really like it. Like just behind the Simpsons house and the McAllister's house, I really like it. I think it's super cool. There is one thing that I probably should have done differently, and that's actually the interior gated wall right there. That should have been in line with the pillar because it looks sort of strange. What I could do is probably just build it out. So like fill those 2 cheese slopes right there so that it actually connects to that pillar, or extract it and rebuild it. I don't think I'll want to extract it. I think I'd have to just like take this whole panel off and then just build it when it's just chilling there, because bringing it out would not be a tremendous amount of fun. So if I do decide to fix that, that's probably how I'll do it. I don't know. I think it bothers me now because I just installed it and I see it, but I think it'll be an easy enough fix. Now, something I did differently here on this one compared to the raised train station is I didn't raise the arches as high, because you can actually see the melamine on this one here. Well, you could see it until I built like a beam that ran across the melamine, whereas this one here, I kept those 1x12 arches lower, so the pillars that hold the 1x12 arches are a little bit lower, so you can't see the melamine, and I didn't have to put that beam in. So yeah, I think that was definitely the right call, and you can tell that it's the second time that I've built one of these. Really happy with that. Why don't we take a look at it from afar, actually? See, it's sort of hidden, so you can't really see it until you get to the right angle, but it just looks like something interesting. It's like, ooh, what's that over there? Just like the train station, you know? It's like, okay, I know there's something over there. It's just a little more interesting than straight up raised platform coverings, because now you can see, oh, there's more detail over there. There's something awesome happening in that raised platform. And then you move over and you're like, oh, there's another one. I wonder what's in there. That one's got torches on the outside of it. Super cool, right? Yeah, I love that. And you know what? I've got one more train station that I need to build in that raised platform. And it's actually going to go right here behind these residential buildings, and it's going to be the same size as the raised train station. So it's going to be 2 platform coverings.
And I think it's going to be super neat because you're actually going to see the train zooming by as it passes underneath the raised platform. So that's going to be really neat. I know that's not really the best spot for it, behind residential buildings, and I'm not sure how I'm going to get people there. But either way, I just want to add one more thing to the platform coverings. We've got tunnels, we've got a dungeon, we've got a train station, and I really like the way that the arches actually blend in. So usually we use the 1x8s, right? But I switched up to the 1x12s and I got the spacing correct. So there's the even spacing and also the even arches that are actually supporting the walkway up top as well. But there we go, everybody. It's my new and improved, well, not new and improved, but just new and general dungeon that has been added to the raised platform below the Lion Knight's castle. Let me know what you think of it by commenting below. Please remember to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for some more great stuff. And have yourselves a fantastic day. Farewell.